Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaves have far too short a day. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou own'st, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Well, there it is, the sonnet in English. It is an amazing thing. It's had a long history, even though it really started out with this intense period of lots of people writing sonnets, 1590s, we'll get to that. But it stretched out and had a long-term consequence. So I'm going to give you a general introduction to it, and we'll walk through a few examples, and then you will be ready to enjoy sonnets, maybe even write sonnets of your own. So here goes. I want to take you back to the history of the sonnet. It's not an original English form. It's actually an Italian form. In fact, it has quite an old history. The word sonnet means little song, sonetto. And it was way back in the early 13th century that a couple of Italians gave it its initial form, this short lyrical poem. And then it was in the late 13th century, it started to have a regularized rhyme scheme, and then it wasn't until the early 14th century that Petrarch and Dante, the heavy hitters of the Italian Renaissance, published their sonnets and really started it on its way, Petrarch in particular. And Petrarch had set up all the major conventions of sonnets that would end up being carried over for the most part into the English tradition. First of all, you always had this poet who was directly addressing or admiring a woman who stands at a distance from him, is somehow unreachable, maybe because she's already married, or maybe because she's of a higher class, or maybe she's just haughty and surly or whatever. And obviously this picture is a good one because it shows the pining lover who's writing this short lyrical love poem. It's often a love poem filled with over-the-top praise and descriptions of beauty. It's a kind of poem that really is psychological, or at least subjective. It really gets into the feelings of the narrator, and those feelings are often pained. I'm feeling love, but it hurts, and it's also this kind of hurts so good kind of love, and that lends itself to descriptions in terms of oxymorons like fire and ice, or I'm both free and in bondage at the same time, and that's how it's described in this kind of compressed paradox. Love does that to you. There's also a standard theme of eternal youth and love are sustained because of the verses that are being written by the poet, and there's also this kind of self-deprecation that's there, that, all right, I'm not worthy of you, or sometimes it's, you are the one who is the inspiration, you're my muse, and I'm just this lowly person who must worship you at a distance. So those are some of the basic conventions that were set up by Petrarch, and if you can see the